Welcome to the Man United Agenda. It's OMONDI here, and I'm joined with the two Irishmen. That'd be Rebel and Pat Lawless, and we're ready to go and talk about all things Man United. Yes, people, it's OMONDI here. This is the Man United Agenda. It's 8:30, and you can set your watch by us because we always deliver. 8:30 every night of the week, we are dropping shows. What other channel can do that? I don't know. But you answer me that, Rebel. Do you know the other channels that deliver like us every night of the week, time after time after time?
We're like Muhammad Ali, delivering shot after shot after shot. Say my name.
Eat the jab. How's it taste? And today it tastes a bit salty because I think we're going to bump heads today, Rebel. Don't you reckon? We were having a little disagreement earlier in our chat when we were like getting the show ready. So do you reckon we're going to be a bit salty tonight, me and you?
Well, there is a rather sensitive topic for you that's coming up, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think your fear is going to manifest as much. It's more the principle. It's what I'm actually going to be attacking rather than the individual.
Okay. Do you want to introduce your fellow Irishman?
Well,
wait. Before you do, it needs to be a big one. It needs to be a big, respected one for this man here. Because I'll go bigger. I think you can go bigger.
All the way from the capital city. He is a man with a plan. The team that done 6 All-Irelands in a row in the GAA, which is a completely different sport altogether. We are going to be going head-to-head, looking for blood from each other on Sunday because our teams are going to be facing each other in the grandest stadium of them all in Croke Park. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pat Lawless.
Thanks very much, guys. Muhammad Ali and Dublin all rolled into one. What else can I ask for?
How you doing, Pat Lawless?
I'm good, lads. I'm good. I just can't wait to get into this now because this saga is dragging on so long now. I want to get a bit of sense of it. There's so much to talk about, isn't there?
Well, the thing is, we were nearly running late because we were talking about these subjects as well. We couldn't stop it. We were trying to plan the show, and we'd go, oh, no, we're bumping heads. But let's do it live now. Let's do it live, not backstage. This is live in front of millions and millions and millions. We're going to go and talk about these subjects because, yeah, it's time now. It's time to go in. Before we do, I just want to go and introduce the early birds. That would be Brush, always with his popcorn at hand, waiting. Brush, why are you watching the transfer show? I don't know. I'm joking. You never do. Eddie's in the house as well. He said, hit the like button. Thank you, guys. HD Gamer, how you doing? He said, God, I'm early. It's like going to the cinema and getting into the studio 20 minutes early. Yes, indeed.
You got the best seats.
Yeah. Box is here as well. He's saying, hi, lads. Also says, 55 million tops for Antony. Okay. All right, you're revealing. That's a spoiler alert by Box here. Thank you. Matthew Bassett, how you doing, bro? Hopefully see you on Friday. Box again. All right, we'll get to that, Box. We'll get you jumping in already. HD Gamer, Anthony. All right, look, they know what's on the show, don't they? I want to say hi to Robbie Norman. He says 2 Irishmen and an Englishman walk into a bar. We need to finish that joke. So can we have a little punchline at the end of the show about 2 Irishmen and an Englishman walking into a studio, a StreamYard?
2 Irishmen walk out, the Englishman's on the floor.
See, I'm outnumbered here. I'm definitely going to lose. Adil is in the house. Any more? Oh, bath time with Vaughan. He says, all right, lads. We're all right. Thank you. And finally, we've got Adesh as well. You've been dropping some gems lately, Adesh. Glad you're in the house. So anyway, we're going to start off with the show with a topic that's just come up today. Now, Spurs have just sold Bergwijn to Ajax. And this is Ajax, who don't really usually spend that much money. They develop players. They bought a big player who's probably on a big wage as well. So what does that mean for Manchester United? Well, what it means is we've made a bid for Antony. So we've been waiting for this deal to go through. We got Ajax by the kahunas, and we're saying, you need some money now, don't you? You need to sort of balance the books. So apparently we've bid some money for Ajax. I'm going to read it out for you guys at home. That's not that one. That's for later. This one here, Antony. So here we go, guys. Listen closely. Man United's 51 bid for Antony, short of Ajax's asking price. That's the headline. Man United have reportedly submitted a bid to sign Ajax winger Antony. It would make sense that the club would speed up the process to sign a forward, with Cristiano Ronaldo now wishing to leave. But United stressed that the Portuguese superstar won't be sold this summer. According to James Robson, who covers the Man United for Goal, the Red Devils have been pushed back on a £51 million bid for the Brazilian international, with Ajax holding out for a little bit more money. There's clearly an agreement from the Antony camp that Ajax are trying to price their client out of the market. The player has not shown any signs of going AWOL, but that might change if things drag out this summer. So there's the information. That's the sources. That's the quotes. And now I'm going to come to the Irishmen who seem to know what's going on with this deal. I want some information, guys. So clearly, we've been after Antony for a long time now. Bergwijn's been sold to Antony. Who's a player who's known. I think came from PSV. Does that mean there's a gap now with Ajax? Do you think we can get them to sort of sell for a cheaper price than they're asking for? I'm going to start with you, Rebel. So what do you think about Antony coming in now at 51 million? Do you think that's an acceptable first-time bid?
Well, I suppose let's just get something cleared up there first with Ajax. They've had a departure today. Hallier looks like he's on the way to Dortmund, so there is another player after exiting the Ajax locker room. So it might not be all that of a deck clearing situation as you would think on the face of it, unless they have plans to bring in a central player or bring somebody up from their rather acclaimed youth structure into the senior team for next year. But the thing with these deals, and this is where I sometimes struggle with our executives and trying to get inside their minds in what they're actually doing. You would think that with an opening bid that things would be a lot more fluid in the early doors. You know, this idea of throwing in a £51 million bid today, having it sit there and getting slapped out of their hands. You would imagine that they should have been able to come back and go, okay, let's see if we can close the gap. Let's be a bit more fluid. Or at the very least, hope that they were working on other targets. Now, I'm going to just give a couple that are available. We have Mr. Dembele, who's pretty much on a free transfer at the moment of Arsenal fame. Now, obviously, he comes with his risks as well, but he is one target that they may possibly look to pursue. A guy that has been mentioned on recent shows, Mr. Marco Asensio, he's 26. And another guy that was mentioned in previous shows, Mr. Serge Gnabry. So there are other candidates out there. The question is, though, with these opening bids, is it a bit of a nonsense when we hear that they've been rejected? Because you'd imagine that the early talk should be a lot more fluid and a lot quicker. And it's really when you get down, like the deal with De Jong, where we're haggling over the upfront payment and the formation of those achievable extra payments. It's that area that you imagine that deal gets bogged down. So this idea that there's a £51 million bid slapped out, I'm not sure that's the entire extent of what happened today.
So coming to you, Pat. Thank you, Rebel. Coming to you, Pat. So what do you think about the £51 million bid? Because Adesh here is saying Antony is an up-and-coming talent, but 70 million is overpriced, much more overpriced. I think talk about 70 million euros around that age. So 51 million. Do you think that's the maximum you should spend for someone who's maybe had a couple of caps and maybe just done it in a Dutch league? Where are we going with this? Because you've had time to assess them as well. Do you think, and do you think Man United are being realistic with 51 mil?
I think 51 million is a fair price for a 22-year-old who's only had really 2 full seasons with Ajax as his first major club. And he's only really knocking on the door with his international career. So if this is true, is this a ploy for Ajax to hold on to him because they feel they might get more money from him next year after a bit more of a longer stint in his international career and another season under his belt? Is it just to put Manchester United off the scent because maybe we might be the only club after him? Or are they just playing hardball? It's a bit of a tricky one to try and work out because there's so much There's so much negativity with the press at the moment. The storing everything up. I didn't know us Man United fans. We're all a little bit hasty to hear what's going on because of our poor transactions in the last 2 seasons. So I think the 51 million, if it is euros, is a fair bid. Is it euros or 51 million euro, or is it sterling 51 million?
I think it's 51 million pound.
Pound, okay.
This is what's been reported, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more than enough now.
Because we've got some comments here from Box. Box is saying, if you look at the market, Sterling is going for 45 million to Chelsea, for example. Sterling has actually proven he's still got a good few years on his a few years to sort of perform, hasn't he? So where do you gauge, Antony? You've had time to look at him. Where do you gauge him? Where would you price him if all things being fair and we weren't getting taxed?
Like, look, we paid 40 million. It was 40 million euros for Donny van de Beek. So yeah. That's probably what, look, I don't know the exact exchange rate, but it wouldn't be far off 32 million or something like that sterling if it was just a guesstimate. He brings additional goals over Donny van de Beek, so that's maybe going to bring his price tag up. So maybe I would have thought along the lines of between 40 to 45 million, around the same price of what Sterling's going for, is a reasonable price, and it would be up for negotiation instead of it just being rejected straight away. 45 million for Raheem Sterling to England with the English tax is amazing. That's a fantastic amount of money. So for them to get that kind of money, you'd think that Ajax would be open to negotiation and not have a bid rejected for that kind of money sent in straight away.
Rebel, what do you think about the price? I mean, see, are we being sort of like tricked here and duped in sort of getting paying well over the price tag again, which is the problem we had in the past, isn't it? With players like Maguire and thing, we paid far too much money because we're Manchester United. Do you think Ajax are trying it with us? And what would be your valuation, all things considered, with Antony?
I suppose there's a few factors here with this story. Firstly, the source of this is James Robson, a guy that I haven't really come across too much. It hasn't come from the mouth of our Mr. Here We Go friend. So the credibility of the amount, you would have to question if that was the actual amount today, or whether he's embellished a small bit in order to beef the story. But when you talk about Antony the player, you have to remember that we've seen multiple attackers come across from the Dutch league over the years. And some of them, when they reach Premier League, even though they were carting home to golden boots in the league over there, they haven't actually materialized. One, Mr. Kesman, was an absolute disaster when he arrived in Premier League. But then, of course, we did have the talent that was Mr. Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was banging in goals for fun when he played for us. But when you look at Antony, and I suppose in the spectrum of the players that are available this year, we've seen what price Sterling went for today, or believed to have gone for. We've seen what the likes of Darwin Núñez and Haaland and all these guys, although slightly different positions, have cost this year. Ajax, in one way, if they are looking for the guts of £80 million, are probably just basically saying, look, we don't want to sell him. And that is the reality of it, because they're saying, at the end of the day, if we're going to lose Martinez to either United or Arsenal, and we're after losing all the other players that we mentioned previously, like the likes of Gravenbach, they're probably saying, well, we've made enough money in today. We don't really need to sell anybody else. Let's dig our heels in. And if they want to give us the silly money offer, then by all means, then we'll take that. But you're going to have to pay silly money if you want this guy. Is he worth £80 million? At this point, probably not. If he'd done it in the Premier League for a couple of seasons with, we'll say, an Everton or whatever, then you might have said, maybe this guy's worth that money. But if that was the case, we probably wouldn't be on our own trying to get this guy.
All right, just to give us some sort of gauge where the comments are at, I'm just going to go through a couple of comments because we'll help with where we're directing this conversation. So just say to Emma, she's saying, we're talking about Dion, we'll come to that later, Emma. MUFCO, that was the only reason I tagged you there, Emma, is just say hello, by the way. I'm saying hi from the Man United agenda. Hope you're doing well. MUFC's Old School says United have not bid 51 million. They've inquired about it. So he said it's not actually a bid. Box is saying, have Ajax sanctioned as £27 million fee for their star striker, Haller, who got 10 goals in Champions League. I can't understand it. Yet they demand 70 million for Antony. I'm going to stop right there. Good question, isn't it? Because they let go Gravenberch for 16 million to Bayern Munich. They let go the right back on a free. And now they want massive money from us, you know? So answer this question from Box, because this is a really good point. I'm going to come to you, Pat. So how have they sanctioned sold their star striker for 27 million? And why did we go in for him, who got enough goals in Champions last season, but yet they're demanding so much money from us? Are they taking the mickey here?
I kind of go back to me original statement. Are Ajax holding on to him for next year? Because with the World Cup coming up in November, it's really who will get into the squad first. I don't watch enough of Brazil. Would Rafinha get into the squad over Antony, or would it be vice versa?
I think maybe somebody, to be honest. I think
maybe somebody in the comments can answer that question for us and tell me who's going to get in there. If Antony gets in there over Rafinha, Antony has a good World Cup. Yes, there's going to be other suitors looking for them. Are they going to be looking for more money? Maybe we could be looking back at this and going, 65 million is dropping the ocean back then. But that's all looking into a crystal ball and hoping for the best, really. So that could be one. That could be one aspect of what Ajax are trying to do, or it could just be with the. It could be the media just picking up that kind of aspect and trying to run with it and seeing what kind of some kind of information, attention they can gravitate towards this whole situation that we're in at the moment. Like, I like Antony. From what I've seen, he's a fantastic player. With the amount of players it looks like Erik ten Hag wants to bring into the team, is this guy a priority right now, or is his position a priority right now? So that's just something else to think about.
Guys, there's 60 in the comments right now. Make sure you press the like button if you want to support the channel. Up to you. But yeah, be really nice to be good. Rebel.
Briefly before you move on from Box's count, transfermarket.com, who are normally fairly close to market value for these kind of players, they have priced them at £31.5 million. So if you're talking about a guy that is being believed to be priced in that range, the reported bid, and I'll use the term bid loosely given I suppose our air of skepticism about the provenance of the report, that would nearly be double what a fairly prominent site has declared as its value. Now, if that's not Manchester United tax, I don't know what is, because we would literally be handing them an absolute golden goose egg at £50 million. So I'd imagine if we did put that type of a bid in, there probably would be thinking fairly long and hard about it. So you have to kind of then look at the other options and whether or not you could get somebody of more proven status, or maybe that might have a higher ceiling at that price range, but may come with more risk.
But I'm going to ask you, but if you're focusing on one player and you think this is the guy I've identified, like with Frenkie, should you just keep pursuing it until you get the deal done? Or are you saying you should turn around now and say, right, we're going to bluff you and say we're going to go look for someone else? Because there's a lot of games that go on in these transfer dealings. It's not as simple as you might think initially, is it? There's a lot of gaming going on. They're obviously playing with us in this one. Just want to read out Box here. He's talking about Ajax and where they're at. They're about losing players. So he's talking to Emma. He says, I think Ajax now are desperate. I think Ajax know we are desperate for players. Probably a bit bitter losing Ten Hag. Plus they lost their goalkeeper, Nana. And they lost Marazi, the right back, for free. And they lost Gravenberch for 16 million. So they need to recoup on the costs. And also Haller, we're going to throw in Haller to that as well, because he looks like he's going to Dortmund. So they're losing sort of 3 or 4 first-team players. And this is probably why they're up in the price for Antony, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, probably. They probably do need to recoup some money. And it is a fair point. But, like, why on earth would Man United... Well, we believe that we have a limited transfer budget, put all our eggs in one basket for a player like Antony, when there's a player who we just spoke about in Raheem Sterling going to Chelsea, and there's another player in Hakim Ziyech that may be available. And I can't see Chelsea looking for that kind of money for a player when they just bought Raheem Sterling for 45 million. So that Chelsea could be approached with that kind of attitude, and maybe Ziyech could do a job for us in the interim while we're in the process of trying to build the first squad.
Ziyech, now this is some shot out of the dark. What do you know about Ziyech as a player? Because isn't he sort of getting on in age now, and has he had injury problems?
I believe he's 29 years of age. I'm not too sure about the injuries, but I know that it was mainly down to he didn't really suit Chelsea's system, and that was the reason why he didn't get into the squad. Maybe somebody else might be able to tell me that in the comments who watches Chelsea week in, week out. But he just didn't seem to settle in there as well as they probably would have wanted him to. So it's just another option to look at, really, if we're getting our pants pulled down for 51 million for a player like Antony at Ajax.
So Rebel, any other alternatives you've got, like left-footed inside forwards from the right? I know we've covered a few of these players over the last few weeks and months, haven't we? Anyone else you think could be suitable as an alternative if they start taking the mickey here?
I suppose just to kind of also restate what Pat just mentioned, I think it would be absolutely insane if Manchester United kept all their eggs in one basket, because we know from the old proverb that that's not a good idea, and you need to have other deals progressing. And it's very easy to say, lads, actually, we got somebody else. Thanks very much for your time. Or you might actually even want a second one of those targets. So you need to be moving multiple deals until you get one across the line, in my view. In regards to Ziyech, his injuries, I just had a quick look here. In the 2021-22 season, he only missed 4 games, or he wasn't available for selection for 4 games. One was an Achilles tendon, one was a shoulder injury. Season before, he did miss 12 games, or wasn't available for selection for 12 games. He had both a knee and a hip injury. And this season before that, he actually missed another 9 games. So there is a bit of an injury history with him, but it's whether or not at the price point is that a overriding factor or not. But with alternatives, as we mentioned before, there is the high risk one. There's probably not a lot of clubs that are willing to take him on, and that's Dembele. He's available on a free at the moment, and he is somebody that the Barcelona chairman has mentioned that if he accepts our terms, he's more than welcome to come back. We don't close the door on anyone, but we establish what we're prepared to pay. So maybe that is someone that could be worth a roll of the dice if we're being priced out of the market. But again, it would all depend on what this guy and his agent would demand in terms of a wage packet, because we do not need to be paying insane wage packages to players anymore. If Ronaldo leaves, which is another topic later on, that will drop our max wage amount that's on any player down to David De Gea at 375,000. So that would be the first time, I'd say, in a long time that we would have a wage structure that has practically everybody below 400k, which is a big improvement on where we were in terms of the wild contracts. Now, there's still a lot of them to be sorted, but that's a different topic entirely. Asensio, again, I think he's a guy that's coming into his final year of his contract.
Yep.
And there's a lot of competition over in Madrid for places. He might relish a chance at another league, but then again, the risk there will be that he has never played Premier League. It will be whether or not he can adapt to the physicality. But that would be the question for any player that comes in from outside the league that hasn't had a run in one of the lower Premier League clubs before they got picked up by the larger outfits. So there's definitely more options out there. And I think it would be naive in Manchester United to be saying, look, it's Antony and De Jong or no one. That would be a big mistake.
With a session, he's 26 years of age, so it doesn't work out within the first 6 months or 12 months of the fourth season. He still has got time to adjust and learn how to play the Eric Ten Hag system. But it will be a big change of what he's used to. So it's still an option at a young age.
So it seems like you two and people in the comments are really disgusted by this. If he's valued at 30 mil, like I said, in the transfer market, why would we pay more than 50? And there's a good point here from Bath Time. He's saying the obvious thing to do is chuck a few players in with the Antony deal. And then it goes on to say here from Box, Chong and Tanzabi would be decent. Chong's obviously Dutch. He came from Feyenoord, I think it was.
I think
And
I
he would be good, he can go back there and do the business. Just going to go through some comments. David Neres, he's also a left-footed Brazilian guy who played on the same position as Antony. He was at Ajax for a long time. He was in the 18-19 season, and a club bid 50 million for him. They refused that, and a year later they sold him for 30 million. So there you go, because obviously he went to Russia, I think, or that sort of region. Bath Times saying Teles, Chong, Tanzabi, plus loans like Mengi could go over as part of a deal, or even says send them Ahmad, left-footed guy who I think deserves a chance. Don't wait to the World Cup, says Hijacker. How you doing, Hijacker? Welcome to the channel. Couple more here. Dembele, sorry, Mark Gabriel, how you doing? He says, if we get Malacia, Martinez, Antony, De Jong, Ericsson, Tillemans, and Dylan, will it be a successful season? Who's
that
Dylan?
sounds.
I don't know who Dylan is, but the others I know. That's a lot of signings. That'd be quite successful, I reckon.
I think
want
he
to say
means
hi.
Dybala.
The Dylan one must be Dybala. Yeah.
Okay, so Abanya, how you doing, Napoli? He says United should go in for Dybala instead. I'm going to stop you right there, guys. Rebel, you were talking about Dybala earlier. You had some interesting information about his injury record.
Yeah, we've been looking back at it, and this guy has been on the treatment table as much as a Mr. Eric Bailly, which is rather concerning. In the last 3 seasons, Eric Bailly missed 277 days. Dybala was just 3 days behind him at 274. So he misses more than you would think. So that would be something that I think we need to steer clear of, unless when you do a medical assessment of this guy, that our medics think with a change in training program, with the addition of maybe some core work or whatever they prescribe, that they could overcome that. It is a big, big risk bringing in a player with that sort of injury profile. And as we can no doubt see from our attempts to move Eric Bailly on, teams aren't prepared to roll that dice and take on someone that could end up back on the stretcher after their first or second game. So that would be a concerning item. And speaking of injuries and managing them, the United agenda will, of course, actually be running a fantasy football league next season. And we will also have a fantasy football show on a weekly basis where we talk all things statistical about upcoming fixtures, about how people are doing in the league, etc. As you will see there on the screen, you just go to fantasy.premierleague.com, enter the code on screen, and that will get you into our league. Now, they have made some enhancements to leagues in fantasyfootball.com. They also run a cup in tandem based on the number of teams that enter your league. It will then decide how many weeks from the end of the season to commence the cup. So you will be getting a league and a cup to mull over on a week-to-week basis as the season progresses. So make sure you do enter that. And just to add a bit of jeopardy to the situation, the lowest scoring participating Manchester United agenda panelist or regular guest will have to do a forfeit subject to some small terms and conditions like legality, etc., and decency. That will be selected by our viewers. So there is going to be some jeopardy. I'm looking at you, Mr. OMONDI Juma, and our bossman Solo. You have a lot to prove on the fantasy football table.
I want to say hi to Colleen. Colleen, he says, Keen, we don't need any English players anymore because isn't there like you need 17, I think, non-English players, and that means you need 7 for 25-man squad, homegrown English players in your squad, and we're all right in that respect. I think Liverpool and other teams might be struggling there. Just going through the comments.
Just
Sorry,
on that one, I do think that excludes any players that are on your B list. So your B list are players that are under a certain age, and by virtue of that, they qualify. So it has to be, I think, senior players that do not qualify under the B list.
Okay. All right, so we're going to move on. Just before we do, just to end this Antony debate, £51 million apparently is bid. Do we really want to be going to sort of a bidding war that's going to drag out? Just one more question on this thing I was going to ask you guys. I forgot to ask you guys. So is it important Antony comes in now? We've seen the preseason training. Or do you think we can wait because he knows how we play already? What's the urgency here? Should we sort of play it out if it saves us like 10, 15 million pounds? Or do you think it's very important that everybody gets into the tour and goes on tour right this minute? I'll start with you, Pat Lawless.
If Antony was going for 51 million euro, and I think it works out as something like 40 odd million pound, I'd agree with that. And I go, okay, maybe we push it out an extra few bob and we'll get the man. And we might have to pay a bit of a Man United tax, but I'll be okay with that. But if they're rejecting the kind of money that's being shown about at the moment, maybe we need to move on. Like we waited a couple of years since Antonio Valencia retired, and we finally got Jadon Sancho, and we played him out on the left. Surely to God we can put him back out on the right for until January or until next year, and keep Marcus Rashford on the left hand side, which is his best side, and stop trying to taunt him as a number 9. So that would be my opinion, instead of being held at ransom for a player with a high fee, instead of doing what we usually do and overpaying for what we shouldn't have to do, and be patient. So,
and finally, over to you, Rebel. Do you think it's important that Antony comes now, or do you think it's not so important because he knows how Ten Hag plays, that we don't rush him in just yet?
I think what Pat said is very valid. If we're coming in and we're after giving a fair offer and it's X amount over what's the considered market value for the player, and we are not competing against anyone, then you have to kind of assess and say, right, are this club saying, do you know what? There's a silly money price. We don't really want to sell him, but we will sell him if you give us that. Then we have to decide to walk away, more than likely, because there isn't a value for money basis, and your upshot is automatically decreased if he does not suit Premier League football. However, if it is a case that, as Pat rightly said, we came in with a 45 million pounds basis, and it was a matter of, look, we want 50, then get it done, get finished, and move on from it. But it really does depend on what the set of circumstances that Man United board are facing. We have criticised them in the past for dawdling and arguing over stupid things like minor transfer fee increases, and maybe we do need to give them credit when they will refuse to be taken for a ride.
Okay, just quickly here, Ideal's asking, guys, do you think we can score against Liverpool on tour on the 12th of July? If you want to find out, we are doing a live watch-along from that game. So I think it's on the 12th of July. It's about a 1 o'clock kickoff, but we've got TalkMU. He will be covering the game and with a guest as well. So if you want to do a live, come and see a live watch-along, I'd recommend you tune into the Man United Agenda, because we will be covering that game. I want to say also hi to newbie Sting. Maybe. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Stijn. Wow, that's a tough one.
Call it Shin.
Shin. Okay, so he's saying he's injured, he can't play during the tour anyway. I think he's referring to Ahmad, Emma mentioned. And also I want to say hi to Tanjiru. He's talking about Martinez is at London Colney and signing for Arsenal today. Don't know how true that is, but if that's true, Arsenal got the one up on us. Anyway, we're moving on, guys. We're moving on. Next subject. Let's move on here. The next subject is Martinez. And Man United finalised a 40 million deal for Ajax defender Martinez. Martinez are finalising the signing of Ajax defender. Finalised the signing for Ajax defender Martinez. TribalFootball.com journalist Rudy Galetti says is reporting it's merely a matter of time until the deal is secured. He also insists that the final paperwork still needs to be done, but the deal will be clinched soon. Providing Martinez puts pen to paper, he will become Erik Ten Hag's second side in the summer. He is expected to join Man United from Ajax again. We're talking about Antony, but another player for Ajax for 40 million. United have already welcomed left back Tyrell Malacia to the club as he made the move from Feyenoord early this week. So we are raiding the Dutch league. We are raiding Ajax for another player here. That's Martinez. There's reports here. I don't know how true it is. Maybe one of you guys can look into that he's going to Arsenal. So that would just blow our show up completely and make us look stupid. But if he's not, and this is true, because we heard this earlier in the day, how do you feel about this, guys? Because it looks like Martinez, the defender that we've always wanted, that we required, who's versatile and is a baller as well. We've covered him in the last few shows. It could be coming in for 40 million, which tends to be a lot better deal than the 51 we're currently seeing from Antony. So over to you, Pat Lawless.
We seem to have a bit more concrete information on this. Like the main man, Fabrizio Romano, he told Gimme Sport earlier on, he feels that it's the right time for Martinez to leave Ajax to try and try bigger and better experiences, like the Premiership, for example. So the player is really pushing to leave. He's speaking about Martinez, and we will have final answers on the Martinez story later in this week, he says. So if Romano says that, and then we've heard that he's in London now to discuss terms, I'll have to stick with Romano for the time being, to be honest with you, because he never seems to let anybody down so far. He seems to be the concrete man to listen to. But if we wanted a left-sided defender, this is what we're going for. This player is a much more technical player than what we currently have, and all he has to do is stay fit, and he stays in the squad straight away. So hopefully now we can pull this one out of the bag. We'll be all for Martinez.
Thank you. That's a good quote. You come from Romano, from the horse's mouth. So I do prefer quotes from Romano, and you've delivered today. So that's maybe a bit more relieved about this Arsenal news going around in our comments. Over to you, Rebel. So Martinez, I've also heard he didn't turn up for training. Do you think that's unprofessional? And do you think that's a sign from him that he wants to sort of move from the club?
Well, there were reports out there that he was basically making up his mind that he wanted to leave. Now, we heard this from about Antony previously, and we've never verified whether or not he actually did or didn't turn up for training. Actually, with the Arsenal situation, interestingly, there was calls from a number of former Arsenal players to abandon the bidding war for Martinez by all accounts. Now, why they would be advising that is beyond me, considering the versatility of the man. We already know that he can play centre-back, and he's that left-footed, that left-sided player that we've all been craving. We also know that he can do a job at defensive midfield, and where required, can play at left-back as well. So why they would feel that he would be nothing more than a squad player for them, given that profile that he could do, would be questionable. But then we do know that former players do like headlines and putting themselves in amongst the newspapers. So I suppose you have to take that with a pinch of salt. With regards to the London thing, as we know, United have done negotiations in London before. That is nothing new. But of course, that also leaves the opportunity for that agent to speak to both parties if we have both reached the valuation that Ajax have deemed appropriate for the player. I suppose it is heartening listening to Pat talk about the Fabrizio quote and the fact that this saga looks like at least it's coming to its end game, and that checkmate may be not too far over the horizon. I hope we can get this one done. I think he is a player that understands what Ten Hag wants, and we are seeing a lot of players linked with us that do play the type of system that Ten Hag really, really values. So it can only be a good deal, and it would put a bit of pressure on the existing centre-backs to make it known that they can reach the level that Ten Hag wants.
Okay, you're hinting at an argument there. I can see you want to bang heads with me. I'm going to stay out of this for now. Guys, I'm just going to ask you guys a simple question. Martinez seems to be pushing for this move. Do you think that helps? Because the price is quite decent at 40 million. I'm saying that, wow, 40 million is a lot of money. But considering, do you think Antony should do the same? Because he's not really saying much, is he? It seems like Martinez didn't turn up at training. That suggests something's happening. So do you think it helps, just in general, I'm not saying about Antony, do you think it helps if players sort of put out big red flags that they want to leave by not turning up at training. This is what happened with Ronaldo at the moment with us, isn't it? That seems to suggest that he doesn't want to be there.
Well, just confirm that Martinez did turn up the training today. Fabrizio Romano did confirm that. So that's another bit of concrete news we have today. So he may not have turned up through the last day or so, but he has turned up today, according to Fabrizio today.
Okay. Well, I trust that information. I don't know where I got mine from. But in general, with like Ronaldo not turn up at our training, and that's a big indication he wants to leave. Do you think players like Antony, to get the price dropped and be more realistic, do you think he should start to do that to indicate that he wants out?
That's a tough one. If it was me, no, I wouldn't do it. I'd try and stay professional till the end.
Yeah.
The way I look at this, sorry, Pat, is, and my only point on the matter is, karma can be a cruel master when it comes our turn. So I would rather that we do this right and not be relying on a player rebelling, because that can come around and bite you in the keister before too long.
We've seen, we're going to come on to Frenkie de Jong, but Frenkie de Jong's been really professional. Don't think he's done anything to upset the Barcelona fans, has he? By indicating he wants to leave. If anything, he's indicated he wants to stay. So that's a bit of karma, I suppose, for him, being very professional. I don't know what's going on with that deal, but we're going to talk about that very soon. But it's interesting, is it, that you can, as a player, they always say the player power sort of swung towards the players now regarding transfers, and since the Bosman rule and that kind of thing, players can dictate and have a bit more say in wanting to leave clubs. But then it does often lead them with bad reputations. We've seen what comments on international duty some of our players like Pogba say about, hinting at away, moves away, that kind of thing. So players can influence it with their agents and media, putting stuff out there in the media to suggest they're not happy, that kind of thing. It's interesting that I think it does play a role. Just want to say hi to FC United Forever. She says hi to Pat and OMONDI. And can you also say hi to the other Irishman here, Rebel, please? Welcome back. It's good to see you again. Nick Knack as well. How you doing, man? He says any defender looks like a bargain after you spend 80 million on Maguire. I know.
Don't kick him out, OMONDI. Don't kick him out. You can't do that. That's not nice.
You become Rebel's best friend, Nick Knack, by saying comments like that. Just a running joke in here. Karma Connor, how you doing, man? Wicked show yesterday. You really representing. He says Antony's agents and him himself are trying to broker a deal on their end with Ajax. Okay, that's some news. I trust that source. And also, we're coming on to De Jong, so we might as well end on this one with Nick Knack. He's saying De Jong hasn't uttered a word in public, has he? That's true. Very professional. I like that. But anyway, next one we're mentioning is De Jong, Frenkie de Jong. Now, obviously, you guys might go, oh, here we go. We've got a lot to talk about. Because this saga has been going on. It's like EastEnders out here, just when you think it's happening, boom, 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 boom. It's not the end. It's not the end. There's another issue that rises up. And so here we go again. And I'm getting fed up with this. You can tell by my tone. Frenkie de Jong. Barcelona president hands Man United another blow with a Frenkie de Jong statement. Keep in mind, it's not coming from Frenkie de Jong. 25-year-old Erik ten Hag's number one target this summer, and Barcelona may be forced to cash in on the star due to their financial difficulties. Quote, Frenkie de Jong is a Barcelona player. We don't want to sell him unless we have no other choice, he says. He's quoted as saying to the Manchester Evening News, of course, we know there are offers for de Jong, but we don't want to sell him. SN's verdicts, United fans are growing increasingly frustrated with saga, and Laporte's comments certainly won't ease any minds about a huge month ahead. A saga stretching into the start of the season is the last thing United want, and there must come a point where it's better to walk away and focus on other targets. Now, let me just read that again, because we really have to break it up. This is from Laporte. He's the top man at Barcelona. He's saying Frenkie de Jong is a Barcelona player. We don't want to sell him. Should stop there, full stop. But he says, unless we have no other choice. Okay, that's interesting. Also, he says, of course, we know there are offers for de Jong, but we don't want to sell him, full stop, that time. But, he's, so I'll leave you that. You've had a read. Now we're going to review Rebel, over to you. Frenkie de Jong, what do you think about the statements? Can you read into them? What you thinking the port is actually saying here? If you read between the lines, obviously he's got to keep his Barcelona fans on side. Talk to me.
Okay, I'm looking at this from two viewpoints. The first one is we've had a long-running saga like this before. We had a bit of it with Sancho, but it was made clear early doors by Dortmund that time that they did not want to sell that year. We waited 12 months and we got our man. I'm hoping that this isn't going to be a repeat of a certain ill-fated window that we pursued and flirted with Mr. Gareth Bale all summer, only to end up with an empty breadbasket and a Marwan Fellaini side cup. But let's talk about Laporte and his involvement in this whole saga. It's interesting that in the 11th hour, that's when this man has chosen to make statements regarding how much they value Frenkie, how much they want to keep him, and how much he is not for sale. We've been talking about Frenkie ever since Eric Ten Hag has became manager. It was made clear that Manchester United were pursuing him because it was felt that he wasn't getting the fair shake of the whip at Barcelona because they were valuing young players like Pedri and Fati that had come through their academy, and they seemed to be getting the lion's share of opportunity. So clearly there's a very business related undercurrent to the statements that this guy is making. They are calculated and they are very poignant because, as a few people in the chat have mentioned, Frenkie de Jong is owed a considerable amount of money in back payments. Similar enough to the Piqué issue, where it was believed that Piqué was paying for teammates' dinners because the club was too burst to afford the catering bills for these players. So what is he trying to achieve? He's looking possibly for an increased upfront payment because Spanish rules are very, very well documented in terms of transfers. What they get in from a transfer, they are not entitled to reinvest 100% of straight away in the season of receipt. So they are obviously looking to increase that amount because the more that goes up, the more a portion that they can use in the playing squad for current season. And you'd also assume that they're looking for more upfront because they need to discharge the liabilities that are believed to be held between them and their player, Frenkie de Jong. So he's not going to walk away from this money. So now, with his business hat on, Laporte is doing everything in his power, if he has to sell him, to make sure that he puts Barcelona in the best financial position possible with that deal.
Wow. Wow to that, and wow to some of the comments that are coming through as well. They seem to be on your page, Rebel. Over to you, Pat. Do you want to add to that? I don't know if you can, because Rebel seems to have given you the whole report all in one statement. Yeah. Anything to add? What do you think of this statement from the Barcelona guy? And if you just scratch the surface, what do you think this is all about? Do you think he said he's not for sale?
I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Barcelona camp just to see what's going on. This man is a Spanish politician. He is now used to he is so well used to spreading propaganda, twisting the truth, trying to diverge the story of what's going on in his own club, create smokes and mirrors, and let's put out stories for everything else that's happening in the world. Like, we all knew Barcelona were in trouble the day they had to let their prodigal son go missing. And I've heard that story earlier on about the fact that if Frenkie de Jong is currently owed money by Barcelona, it's just like the equivalent of trying to go and buy a mortgage where you're trying to buy a home that's in negative equity, and this is why the deal is taking so long. Is this what it is? Is this what Man United's lawyers are trying to trash out? That Frenkie de Jong is owed so much money that Manchester United are trying to say, okay, well, we will take him, but we need to stall out. We have to work out how we're going to pay these installments for the 17 million that Frenkie is already owed. Otherwise, he's staying here and he's taking a pay cut. And then Frankie's like, well, I'm not staying here, because another rumor that's going around is that Frenkie de Jong is in daily conversations with Eric Ten Hag.
Yeah, I heard that one.
And that's another one that's going around today. Now, just like everything else, is it true? We don't know. But it fills me full of a bit of a hope that there is truth in Frenkie coming to us. But it feels like it's just a big, fat, steaming mess that's going on in the Barcelona camp. And they're trying to blame it on Manchester United taking their time, which I hope is the case. And I really would like to see Frenkie de Jong come to Manchester United over any other player at the moment, because we can make it work with what we have. But just that middle of the park is the one player that I think we need to make everything tick for the new season coming forward.
Fantastic. While we're talking about Frenkie de Jong, I'm going to touch on the comments because they're hot, blazing hot right now. I can feel them. And there's 82 in the comments as well. 82 watching right now. Make sure you press the like button if you can. I just want to say hi to Andy Long. He says good evening all. We say good evening to you as well. I don't know, if Andy, if you're bored of Frenkie de Jong talk, but I thought everyone would be, but they did. Type it in. Here we go. And also, Avad is saying hello to the chat and hello to Pat and Wandy and Rebel. Thank you very much. So here we go. Adesh is saying, according to the Telegraph, Frenkie de Jong is being owed 13.7 million in basic wages and 3.4 million in bonuses by Barcelona, and that's why the move to Man United has been held up, as Rebel and Pat sort of stated earlier. Box is just laying it down straight. He's saying Laporte is very slippery. Paddy, how you doing, Paddy? Passionate Paddy. He says, my worry is that this saga will go all the way to the end of the transfer window. That's a poor start to our season. I'm sure I do agree. People will start to get concerned. Nick Nack is saying basic negotiating tactics where you're never going to admit you want to sell a player if you want top money. Just referring to Laporte's quote. That's a good response there. Avad is saying Laporte is just milking the situation. They know we want him, but he wants to make signings and also keep de Jong because he's a fantastic player, but only on reduced wages. Robbie Norman, man, how you doing? He says James Ducker Telegraph protracted pursuit of Frenkie de Jong being held up by money owed to the player in deferred wages, bonuses. Barcelona 17 million apparently owed to him. I want to say hi to Marlon. How you doing, Marlon? Welcome to the channel. Why, when it comes to Man U, price of the players are so high, even if they were 40 or 50, they want 80? Good question. We're trying to get to the bottom of that. We can just speculate at the moment, but yeah, it does seem we're getting robbed out here. For the last few years, we have anyway. We're not mugs anymore. We ain't any mugs anymore. We've got a new team. Carl Connor is saying it's okay, de Jong. I've just been told from a fellow United fan who is
in the know.
In the know. Okay, thank you. I hate these things. That de Jong is open to joining Manchester United. However, de Jong doesn't want to leave Barcelona and not be paid what he's owed. So, okay.
Actually, to add to Cullum's comment, there is another rumour surrounding him that he's already made inquiries to one Ole Gunnar Solskjaer about his house in Manchester.
Yes, we did cover that yesterday, and we were told it's going to Virgil van Dijk, apparently. I'm not sure.
Or he's already living there. I think that was squashed fairly rapidly. Okay. That story that came out the blue.
But Brush, you want to say hi to Brush? One of our favourites. He's chewing on popcorn. He's just finished his popcorn. That's why he's typing in now. He says, smash a like button, guys, if you haven't liked already. Bill Baggio, how you doing? He says, surely if we paid him 70 million for de Jong, they pay the money from that to pay Frenkie what he is owed. Kenzie, how you doing, man? Laporte is playing the game. They're trying to rebuild and start again with scrapping all the bad deals former president did. PK deal, Frenkie, and a couple of others. Either get them out or restructure the deal, it says. And there's so many more. I'm just going to touch on a couple. One Box is saying Laporte is crazy. He put a 500 million pound release clause on Christensen. And Andy Long is saying, are Barca trying to get United to pay FDB's money in the add-ons? And I think between the two Irishmen, they covered that. I just want to say to you two guys, absolutely outstanding the way you covered this story. You didn't leave anything unturned. You've done your investigations. It's like you've been out there with your trench coats and your shades on, you know, with your one of those newspapers, you know. Honestly, I'm very impressed. Yeah, I'm very impressed with the way you covered that story. Completely, you didn't leave anything unturned. I really respect that, guys. And that's what you get on this channel. A couple more things here. So FC United Forever saying it's been a while since AT was on, talking, saying thank you because they're having a conversation. John is in the comments and saying, I think Man United can run for Phillips from Leeds. He's a good midfielder. Hasn't the Phillips gone to Man City?
Yes.
He has. Okay.
That's a done deal as far as I remember. He was announced already.
Okay. Just a couple of newbies here. So Top Dog. Yes, you are indeed. I love the picture as well. Very cute dog you got there. He's saying Barcelona playing dirty. They are painting him up as a wrong one. Okay. That's dirty. Yeah. Ferdinand is saying, oh, yeah, he agrees. Box is saying 10, 20 years ago, you would never have said Barcelona were a club run like a circus, while Real Madrid are running sensibly shrewd moves. It's sensible for shrewd moves. Very good point. And finally, I'm going to end on Emma before we go to any other business. Emma's saying, Box, we thought we were in a mess. At least we can pay our employees.
Emma's dead, right?
Yeah, she is damn right there. Guys, final word on Frenkie de Jong. Just simply, do you think it's going to happen anytime soon? Just to calm down all these fans who are getting agitated, especially Paddy.
Do you want to take that away?
I'll go first. Rebel.
Oh, sorry, Rebel. Sorry, my man.
You're grand. I think, look, there's obviously a lot of games being played. Laporta has stepped onto the chessboard and he's doing his best to muddy the waters with how this is going. I think we need to have a trapdoor available that we get another couple of deals ironed out and maybe trigger them if we need. There's no harm making inquiries for other players. I'm sure Ten Hag hasn't said if it's unrealistic to get the player that there isn't another player that he wouldn't happily accept. That being said, I think the Barcelona situation, they probably do want to move his wages up, because I did read a report that they wanted to reduce him by 10 million a year alone, besides what they actually owe him. So let's call a spade here. He's probably moving, and Laporta now is trying to get the best buck possible.
And last word to you, Pat Lawless, on this saga, which keeps dragging on.
As I said before, I think Frenkie de Jong is the only one player that I wish we could hold out for and we could get, because he's the number one man for that midfield part that we position that we need. After that, the likes of the Antonys and the Martinez, we could go out and get another couple of players like Malacia, who we may have to bet in for another season. But here, look, next year is not going to be all. It's not going to be all sunshine and lollipops. It's going to be a betting season anyway. So why not bet in a few hungry young talents that want to be here and play for the badge with enthusiasm, like young Malacia had in his interview the other day, saying he'll give his all on the pitch. And that's what I want to see next year. So if you can tie up Frenkie, give them what he wants, and get a few hungry players in, hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what we can get next year.
So we'll say hi to Manchester's Red, saying, can we sign Berreton Diaz? I think he's the Chilean striker from Blackburn, who's everyone's raving about, and Dybala as well. I think Rebel was talking about Dybala's injury record earlier, which really sort of a bit of a turn off. But anyway, we're moving on. It's any other business now. I'm going to start now because I've got a bit of information here. I'll leave that one for last. So first of all, Man United determined to keep Cristiano Ronaldo despite links with Dybala. So maybe we'd dig our heels in here. He's under contract, so maybe we'll keep him. And I do think that maybe if we do keep him, he will be professional enough and not throw his toys at the pram like Harry Kane did last season when he could see he had his head down. He was miserable with big lick hanging out. Barcelona in talks to land Man United forward. Should have Xavi get him on board. Talking about Ronaldo, there's talks that Barcelona now want to get Ronaldo on board as well. It's getting ridiculous. Laporte is really...
the magic of Laporte. The magic.
Yeah, exactly.
He's hilarious.
He's got us, reporting for him. And finally, another Barcelona one. Oh my God, Laporte is really getting his money's worth now, isn't he? He's saying Barcelona could sell for Man United forward Memphis Depay, and I don't know whether we'd be interested in him. I doubt it, but he's at Barcelona too. and I'm not taking that at all. But the best news I've got, it's not really news, but something this is my personal love that I got here, a love affair that I have with one of our players. This player has been at the club for a long time. When we're talking about Frenkie de Jong coming in, I always look at this player as Frenkie de Jong mini-me. When I say not as in stature, but mini-me as in youngster, a bit younger, and also someone who could also fulfill that role and do the same kind of job as Frenkie de Jong. And that'd be James Garner. And today in training, there's a clip. Eric Ten Hag calls James Garner over and has a word with him. And it's big news because it's been filmed. But it's just nice, isn't it, for the young man who's done so well over the last couple of years on loan and proven this is how loan deals are really supposed to go. This is a real success. I think he's got the ability to really be a Man United player in the future. He's proved that to me. And I like his style of play. And I hope that Ten Hag was walking over to him to say, young man, you're impressing me with these drills, with your first touch, your movement, your vision. I really like how you play, man. Are you sure you're not Dutch or something like that? But anyway, that's from me. Coming over to you, Rebel. Any other business? Let's hit.
Well, my first bit of any other business is just to remind all our viewers that we do have an up-and-coming fantasy football show and associated fantasy football league run on fantasy.premierleague.com. The code there is on the screen. We'll give you a couple of seconds just to get a note of that. They will be a league and cup ran. There will be a trophy for the winner of the league. We are still discussing whether or not we will be getting something for the cup. But the most important part for you viewers is the presenter that participates with the lowest overall score will have to do a forfeit. Now, there are presenters on this channel who have shirked their duties and forfeits, but we will be ensuring that anybody that has to do this forfeit will be participating. But here's the wonderful part for you. The forfeit will be selected subject to some minor terms and conditions such as decency and legality. The forfeit for the losing presenter. Now, we will also give a caveat that it has to be fairly cost neutral for the person, because obviously we don't need them doing something that's going to cost them an arm and a leg, but it should be light-hearted, a bit fun, and that all the rest of us will get a bit of a laugh out of it. Like, I could imagine a Monday there with some flowing pink locks in a hula hoop dance.
Don't you dare. Don't
Again.
you dare. I was drunk, a little bit drunk.
Moving on to my other bits of AOB. There is apparently a scramble to get the Ericsson medical done before the pre-season tour. It is understood that there would be a fairly rigorous medical required, obviously given the health issues that Ericsson had in that major international tournament. They'd want to make sure that everything is okay and that the player isn't at risk and would be able to fulfill his duties. The other ones now surround an annex on the Ronaldo saga. Firstly, Scholes has apparently got involved in the situation and has made a post surrounding that on his Instagram where he said, "Let the circus begin." So he is none too plussed with what is going on with Mr. Ronaldo. And speaking of social media and really players needing to stay out of social media where at all possible, our club captain, Mr. Harry Maguire, liked a post which basically it was insinuating that Ronaldo was leaving because there was an impending pay cut and that there was a few other bits and bobs that were being levied against him, like the Champions League football, and he was taking his pram and wanting to leave. And Harry, unfortunately, decided that it'd be a good idea to like the post, and it has now been broadcast all over. So we had the media leaks last year, and Harry, unfortunately, stuck his big nose in it and really had an absolute mare on that one.
You can add that to your list of reasons to hate Harry.
I never said I hated the man. I just think that he doesn't exude the judgment necessary to hold the armband at times.
Okay.
And this really
You're doing
not just
a little Porte. You're trying to influence all our fans that Harry's no good and all the people in the comments.
but I think even with taking the Maguire being the person out of the situation, any player that would have involved themselves in that type of a post, you really would have to ask questions about the motives and whether or not they had the interests of the club at heart when they decided to react in the way that they do on social media.
Fair enough. You saved yourself there. That's a good point. What about this Khan rules out Munich move? What's that about?
So basically, as we know, I don't know whether Jorge Mendes is trying to wind us all up as well as Laporte, or the two of them are sitting back in a group chat. They started together and goes, "Look what I can do first." But what they seem to be doing is they seem to be flogging Ronaldo around to anybody who's willing to take him. Now, Oliver Kahn has turned around, and I'll quote, this is what he said himself: "In spite of the fact I appreciate Cristiano Ronaldo, and I consider him one of the greatest players, an operation like that would not be appropriate for our philosophy." Now, he could be talking about philosophy of spending, his age bracket. It could be about just a massive wages or a fee. But I think we can all take that as a flat line no, that Cristiano Ronaldo will not be going to Bayern Munich this summer if he is available. But when we're talking about Ronaldo, like, there can't be a lot of players, there can't be a lot of teams out there who could actually afford Cristiano Ronaldo and his wages. Who realistically could? Laporte and the Barcelona circus at the moment are saying that yes, we could, when they can't even afford to sell their players, is what it looks like at the moment. The only ones really would be the whole Chelsea crew, because they obviously have loads of money, or possibly Real Madrid. So is he actually, is there anybody out there who can actually afford him as much as the press are having a field day for him, for Mendes saying he actually wants to leave Manchester United? Like, it could be actually a valid point, as we have touched on ourselves, that Cristiano just could be having a hard time at the moment with family, and that's why he's out. And the media are just jumping all over the back of this. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm hoping it isn't, and we see Cristiano marching out now on the 12th of July for that first game, with his chest tucked out and his hair gelled back, and he keeps playing. And we don't have to persevere with Marcus Rashford as our number 9. I'd rather see Marcus Rashford out on the left for this season if I had my way.
Okay. Any other business, guys? There's a few things I think someone said in the comments about Dean Henson. Has that gone through? I'm not sure.
There's actually a bit hot off the presses that I just had come across me screen. A Times article basically talking about the possibility of Ronaldo obviously departing. They're suggesting that the replacement may already be at Old Trafford, and they are suggesting that one Marcus Rashford may be more than capable of doing a role. So I'm going to throw this one out to our wonderful viewers. Do you think that Erik ten Hag can get enough out of Marcus Rashford to replace the 20-odd goals that Ronaldo delivered for us in the season just gone? Or would he be snuffed out by wily defenders over the course of the season?
I have, before we get any comments from our excellent comment for subscribers, there's two things. He played his best football under Louis van Gaal, so I'm holding on to hope there, right? The second thing is, I don't know about you guys, but I don't actually know what Erik ten Hag wants in a striker. Maybe he sees something in Marcus Rashford that we don't. Maybe he sees speed, ability. I don't know. But that's just me hoping for the best of Cristiano. Turns around and says he's leaving. Otherwise, I'd be a lot happier if Cristiano Ronaldo stayed.
I'm not going to even go there. We went there yesterday, and TalkMU was suggesting this as well. So that's why he's out here saying, yes, Marcus can do it. And Box is just saying, wow, in one word. He just speaks volumes there. Carlo McCullough saying, not a chance. Rashford is our new signing, says Box.
I think Fox is doing a report.
So it's mixed views here. Oh, Mr. B will be back on Monday. We missed you, Mr. B. Hope everything's well. He's saying Rashford's going to make all you doubters wrong. 25 plus goals this season. There you go. Do you see what I mean?
And actually, just something very, very hot. A player that we were linked with during the previous weeks, and Mr. De Ligt. Bayern Munich are now officially appearing in the race, according to Fabrizio Romano, with Chelsea for the signature of De Ligt. So it seems that Manchester United getting involved in the shake-up for that player, it would be even more unlikely now with 2 Champions League clubs looking for him.
And Robbie Norman here saying that Man United are set to revive their interest in Leicester City midfielder Tielemans. I've heard the update was linked with Arsenal. Emma's saying, I don't think Rashford would do all the goals, but some of them, some from the wingers and midfielders, as they seem to have a goal in them now. And there's a really good one. Yeah, I love this one from Callum McConnell. Says, this is talking about Rashford, Mr. Head down and run into blind alleys.
Actually,
can't do it.
Speaking of Leicester City on Monday, you did remind me in The Athletic today, they did name a few players that they thought could do a job in the event of a Ronaldo departure. And they said in a very, very short-term move that one Jamie Vardy might be worthy of pursuit. So again, I'd like to know what ye in the panel firstly think of a possibility of a Jamie Vardy-led attack and what our viewers think of the thought of having Vardy replacing our legend that was CR7.
I'm going to say to that, I just don't think. I think Vardy, he's coming to the end now. His whole thing was about pace, energy, hustle, bustle, not giving defenders an inch to sort of get their foot on their ball. Love that style of play, but as he's getting older, I don't know if he can still perform at that level. He's a good finisher, though. Good finisher. The hold-up play is pretty decent, but it's just about his movement and his annoyance. I think that's what makes him the player that he is. And he's got a great record as well in the Premiership. He's a really good player, really underrated, I feel, in some respects because of his thing. A bit like Inzaghi, just a nuisance, you know. But the pace was frightening, and I think as he's losing that pace, I think he's sort of declining a little bit.
On the age front, though, Monday, before you get to Pat, I just want to throw out that Mr. Zlatan Ibrahimovic has signed another extension to his contract. So just bear that in mind when you talk about age being an overriding factor.
I think all the cans of Red Bull and scrambled eggs before a match couldn't keep a 35-year-old Jamie Vardy going for the season for us, as much as I'm sure he could do his shift for us. But he's not going to carry the can for what we're going to miss from Cristiano Ronaldo. But then again, I could be wrong, but 35 is a very high age, especially when we're replacing Ronaldo, who's probably younger at 34, is he?
Who, I don't know, 34, 35, he's coming up to that age,
yeah. Vardy would be 2 years younger, wouldn't he, than Ronaldo at the moment?
Well, that would make him, what, 35 then?
35, yeah.
What age is Ronaldo?
37.
Oh, jeez, I got that wrong.
Nice.
Remember, for that one.
Remember, all the comments, thank you so much. We appreciate that. The 2 Irishmen in the panel, I appreciate you for coming on today and really sort of dropping some knowledge and just covering everything for me. I'm sitting back here really relaxed tonight. No sweat at all. You made it so easy for me. And yeah, tomorrow we'll be back at 8:30, naturally. We are 8:30 every night of the week. Just bet on that, guys. Make sure you tune in, you know. Any final words about what we've spoken about or anything coming up? Obviously, we've got the pre-season tour. We're covering the game against Liverpool and maybe the other games as well. Friday night, 10 o'clock, we've got the takeaway. And any breaking news over the weekend, I think we'll be covering that as well. And obviously, Rebel was talking about his fantasy football. I'm definitely doing a tactical breakdown show every Tuesday night once the season gets underway. Trying my best to sort of understand Ten Hag's system and identify, so it's all familiar with us on the channel, what's going on there, because it's going to be very different. And Pat Lawless is going to be my assistant, quite possibly, backing me up. And yeah, there's a lot going on. There's so much going on at the moment at Man United Agenda. We are, as you might have noticed, guys, we are participation, involvement kind of channel. So we appreciate you guys coming through. As you know, there's a lot of people from the comments who end up on the show and representing their views. We've seen that on Friday Night Takeaway many times, and we've seen Pat Lawless's face, beautiful face, come through, and he's become a regular on the show, which we're very proud of and very grateful for his insight. So we're signing out, guys. Sorry, Rebel.
Speaking of the fantasy football, I must talk to Colin McConnor because I believe he has an interest in performing some of the statistical diversities that we will be divulging in on the fantasy football. And of course, there is a Mr. Petty that does love a bit of fantasy football. You can't bait a bit of bully, as they used to say on TV. But I just do want to say that before we do go, I want to ask the viewers, realistically, what signings do they think get across the line between now and when that window slams shut?
And Pat Lawless, do you want to see us off?
That's a fair point, Rebel. No, listen, as OMONDI just said, thanks very much, guys. We really appreciate all your help and support. The comments, this is what the show's all based about. If you have anything you'd like to talk about, don't be afraid to hit us up on Twitter. Hit us in the comments after the show. If there's anything that's on your mind, because at the end of the day, the three of us and everybody else that's involved in this channel, we're all just Manchester United fans, and all we do is discuss Manchester United all day. So don't be afraid to jump into the chat. Give us your views. Let us know what you're thinking. Some of it just might be hot air at the moment, but it's still worth discussing sometimes to break it down, to discuss, is it actually hot air? We don't know if it's hot air. Like, OMONDI and Talk came on there last weekend because he thought he heard something about Ronaldo. Within the hour, it blew up. So sometimes it is worth discussing because you get it out there early and then the updates come and we keep going. But other than that, thanks very much, guys, for all your support. We really appreciate it.
And Agent Bill Badger will be in the comments waiting for you, hungry to answer your questions because he's always there. So big up Bill Badger as well. Man. Anyway, we are signing out. We've gone for an hour and 15 minutes. Good old chat. Good old chinwag as well. So hear any gossip, let us know, guys. We're also on the grapevine. And we'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. Bye-bye.